The cold metal floor pressed against Captain Lee Hana's cheek as she slowly opened her eyes. Her head pounded like drums beating inside her skull. The air smelled wrong here. It was thick and heavy with the scent of fear and old blood. She pushed herself up and looked around. Gray walls surrounded her on all sides. Iron bars blocked the only way out. Through the bars she could see a long hallway with more cells just like hers. This was a prison, but not like any prison she had ever seen before. Hana touched the back of her head where it hurt the most. Her fingers came away with dried blood. The memories came back slowly. The attack on the supply ships, the bright flash of enemy weapons. Her crew screaming as their ship broke apart around them. The Vaylans had taken her. She had heard stories about their prisons, but being in one was different. The walls seemed to press closer with each breath. The silence was broken only by distant sounds she could not identify. "You are awake," said a voice from the cell next to hers. Hana turned and saw a man sitting against the far wall. His clothes were torn and dirty. His face was thin from not eating enough food for too long. But his eyes were still bright with intelligence. "How long was I sleeping?" Hana asked. 3 days, the man replied. "I am Park Minho. I was a teacher before they took me." "Lee Hana. I was a ship captain." Minho nodded. "I thought so. Only military people sleep that quietly after a head injury. Most civilians would be crying by now." Hana stood up and tested her legs. They were weak, but would hold her weight. "Where are we?" "Nexus Prime, the biggest entertainment planet in the Vayelan Empire." Minho's voice carried no hope at all. "We are under the Grand Colosseum." The Grand Colosseum. Every human in the Resistance knew that name. It was where the Vayelans brought prisoners to die for the entertainment of billions of viewers across their empire. Hana felt her stomach turn cold. "They make us fight," Minho continued. "Sometimes against each other, sometimes against creatures from other worlds. The crowds love to watch lesser species kill each other." "How many of us are down here?" Hana asked. "Maybe 200. Humans mostly. Some others from different planets. We all have one thing in common, though." "What is that?" "We all fought against them before they caught us." Hana walked to the bars and looked down the hallway. She could see other prisoners in their cells. Some sat quietly. Others paced back and forth like caged animals. A few were talking to each other in whispers. "Tell me about the fights," she said. Minho was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was even sadder than before. "Most fights are quick. They give us basic weapons and put us against each other or against wild animals. The crowds cheer when we die. The longer we fight, the more they enjoy it. What about the ones who win? They get to live another day, maybe get better food. But everyone dies eventually. The Vaylans make sure of that." Heavy footsteps echoed from the end of the hallway. Hana moved away from the bars as 3 Vaylan guards approached. They were tall creatures with thick-scaled skin and 4 arms each. Their eyes were like yellow glass and showed no emotion at all. The guard in front stopped at Hana's cell. When he spoke, his voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "Human, female. You are chosen for special event." "What kind of event?" Hana asked. The guard made a sound that might have been laughter. "Beast taming ceremony. Very popular with viewers. You will face the tiger." Hana felt her blood turn to ice. Every prisoner in the Resistance had heard whispers about the tiger. It was a creature from another world that the Vayelans kept in their arena. No one who faced it had ever survived. "When?" she asked. "Tomorrow. Arena Master wants to speak with you first." The cell door opened with a loud clang. 2 guards grabbed Hana's arms and pulled her out. As they dragged her down the hallway, she heard Minho call out behind her. "Fight with honor, Captain. Make them remember that humans do not break easily." The guards took her through many corridors and up several flights of stairs. The walls changed from gray metal to polished stone decorated, with carvings that showed Vaylin victories over other species. Finally, they reached a large room with windows that looked out over the arena. The arena was huge. It could hold millions of spectators in seats that rose up like the sides of a mountain. The fighting floor in the center looked tiny from this height, but Hana knew it was large enough for the most terrible battles. "Magnificent, is it not?" said a voice behind her. Hana turned to see a Vielen wearing expensive robes. Unlike the guards, this one was smaller and moved more carefully. His scales were a deeper green color and his eyes held cruel intelligence. "I am Arena Master Kethval," he said. "I decide who fights and when they die." "And you decided I should face the tiger?" "Yes. You are perfect for the ceremony. A human female who commanded a warship. The crowds will love watching you try to tame the beast before it kills you." Kethval walked to the window and pointed down at the arena floor. In the center was a cage, but it was too far away for Hana to see what was inside it. "The Karathan tiger has been our greatest attraction for 7 years," he said. 43 challengers have faced it. 43 have died. Each death was more entertaining than the last. "Why do you call it a ceremony?" Hana asked. "Because we pretend that skilled fighters might actually tame the beast. We give them tools and weapons. We tell the crowds that success is possible, but the tiger has never been tamed. It kills everything we put in front of it." Kethval turned back to face Hana. His yellow eyes gleamed with cruel pleasure. "The ceremony is tomorrow at midday. 3 billion viewers across the empire will watch. You die. Your death will remind them why they should never resist Vielen rule." The guards grabbed Hana again and started to drag her away. But she had seen enough through the window to notice something important. The cage in the arena floor was connected to cables and strange machines. The tiger was not just imprisoned, it was being hurt. As they took her back to her cell, Hana began to form a plan. It was dangerous and probably impossible, but it was better than just waiting to die for the entertainment of her enemies. The tiger had been chained for 7 years. Tomorrow, she would set it free. Then she would see what choice it made. The morning of the beast taming ceremony came too quickly. Hana had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the tiger's cage and the machines connected to it. She had spent the night thinking about her plan, knowing it was probably suicide. 2 guards came for her before dawn. They gave her a bowl of thin soup and a piece of stale bread. Prison food, but she ate it all. She would need her strength for what was coming. "Time to prepare," one guard said. His voice showed no emotion at all. They walked her through more corridors to a preparation room. Other Velen workers were waiting. There. They gave her clean clothes to wear. Gray pants and a gray shirt that marked her as a prisoner. Then they handed her a small energy blade. "Standard weapon," the worker explained. "Makes the fight fair for viewers." Hana looked at the energy blade. It was barely longer than her hand and would probably cut through rope or thin metal. Against a tiger from another world, it would be almost useless. "Where is the tiger now?" she asked. "In the arena cage. It has been there since yesterday. The machines keep it calm until the ceremony begins." The machines. Hana remembered what she had seen from the window. The tiger was connected to cables and strange devices. They were not just keeping it caged. They were hurting it to make it easier to control. More guards arrived to escort her to the arena entrance. As they walked, she could hear the sound of thousands of voices coming from above. The crowds were already gathering. 3 billion viewers across the empire would watch her die today. At the arena entrance, Arena Master Kethval was waiting. He wore special robes for the ceremony and his scales gleamed under the bright lights. "Today you make history, human," he said. "Your death will be remembered across the empire as proof that no species can stand against Velen power." Through the entrance tunnel, Hana could see bright sunlight and hear the roar of the crowd. The arena floor looked huge from this angle. In the center stood the cage, and for the first time she could see the creature inside it. The Karathan tiger was bigger than any animal she had ever seen. It stood 12 feet tall at the shoulder and its body was covered in black fur that seemed to absorb light. But what struck her most were its eyes. They were golden yellow and filled with intelligence and pain. "Beautiful, is it not?" Kethval said. "The perfect killing machine, bred on a world where only the strongest survive. We captured it as a young cub and have been training it ever since." Training it how? Hana asked. Pain teaches the best lessons. The neural chains keep it angry and ready to kill. When we release it, all that rage will focus on you. Hana looked more closely at the cage. Now she could see the chains that held the tiger. They were not made of metal, but of some kind of energy that glowed with a sick green light. The chains wrapped around the tiger's neck, legs, and body. Every few seconds, the creature would flinch as if something was hurting it. The ceremony begins now, Kethaval announced. A loud horn sounded across the arena. The crowd's roar became deafening as millions of spectators cheered for the coming show. Hana walked out onto the arena floor, squinting in the bright sunlight. High above her, she could see the viewing boxes where the most important violins sat. In the largest box, Minister Kyung-jun stood up to address the crowd. His voice was amplified so everyone could hear him. Citizens of the Empire, he called out. Today we present another lesson in the natural order of the galaxy. This human female dared to fight against our rightful rule. Now she will face the consequences of her foolish rebellion. The crowd cheered louder. Hana walked slowly toward the center of the arena where the tiger's cage stood. With each step, she could see the creature more clearly. Its muscles were powerful, but its body was too thin. They had not been feeding it properly. Its golden eyes followed her movement, studying her like she was studying it. The beast taming ceremony will now begin, Minister Kyung-jun announced. Let the human try to prove her species is worthy of respect. The cage door opened with a loud mechanical sound. But the tiger did not move. The energy chains still held it in place, and the neural devices were still causing it pain. It could not attack even if it wanted to. Hana stopped 20 feet away from the cage. She looked up at the viewing boxes, then at the control station near the edge of the arena. The violin technicians were watching screens that showed the tiger's vital signs and neural activity. This was her moment. She had one chance to do something no one expected. Instead of raising her energy blade to fight, Hana threw it aside. The weapon clattered across the arena floor, far from her reach. The crowd fell silent. Confused by this strange behavior, she walked directly to the control station. The technicians were so surprised they did not try to stop her. Their screens showed exactly what she had suspected. The neural chains were not just holding the tiger prisoner. They were causing constant agony to keep it angry and violent. Stop her, someone shouted from the viewing boxes. But Hana was already working on the control panel. Her years as a ship captain had taught her about energy systems and computer controls. She found the power cables for the neural chains and began pulling them loose. You are not meant to be caged, she said quietly to the tiger. Neither was I. Neither were any of us. The tiger's golden eyes locked onto hers. For a moment she felt something strange in her mind, a presence that was not her own. The creature was looking into her thoughts, trying to understand what she was doing. Sparks flew from the control panel as Hana damaged the key systems. Alarms began to sound across the arena. The energy chains around the tiger flickered and began to fade. Reactivate the restraints, Elder Choi Moran screamed from the viewing box. Kill the human now. But it was too late. The neural chains fell, away from the tiger's body with a sound like breaking glass. For the first time in 7 years, the great creature was free. The arena became completely silent. 3 billion viewers across the empire held their breath as they watched what would happen next. The tiger could kill Hana instantly. Its claws were longer than her fingers, and its teeth could tear through metal. Instead, the tiger took one step forward, then another. It moved carefully, as if testing its freedom. When it reached Hana, it lowered its massive head and gently pressed it against her shoulder. The touch was warm and surprisingly gentle. Through the strange connection in her mind, Hana felt the tiger's gratitude and something else. Recognition. They were both prisoners who had chosen to trust each other instead of accepting their fate. The crowd erupted in chaos. Some spectators were cheering. Others were screaming in fear. In the viewing boxes, violin officials were shouting orders that no one could hear over the noise. But on the arena floor, there was peace. The human and the tiger stood together, Two beings who had found something neither expected to find in this place of death. Freedom. The real fight was about to begin. The moment of peace did not last long. Heavy boots thundered across the arena floor as dozens of violent guards poured through the entrance tunnels. They carried energy weapons and metal nets designed to capture dangerous creatures. The tiger lifted its head from Hana's shoulder and turned to face the approaching threat. Its body tensed like a coiled spring. 7 years of pain and rage were about to explode into action. "Stand back," Hana whispered to the great cat, but she felt something strange in her mind. Images that were not her own memories. Thoughts that came from somewhere else. The tiger was somehow sharing its mind with her. Through this new connection, she felt the tiger's burning desire for revenge. It wanted to hurt the ones who had hurt it for so long. But there was something else too. Gratitude toward the human who had set it free, and a decision to protect her. Commander Park Do-hyun led the guard force onto the arena floor. He was a veteran fighter with scars across his scaled face and arms. His voice boomed across the arena as he gave orders. "Surround them both. Use the nets first. We need the human alive for questioning. The beast dies today." The guards spread out in a wide circle. Their energy weapons hummed with deadly power. In the viewing boxes above, the Violin officials were screaming conflicting orders. Some wanted both prisoners killed immediately. Others wanted them captured for study. The tiger moved first. Its speed was beyond anything Hana had ever seen. One moment it was standing beside her. The next it was 20 feet away, tearing through a group of guards like they were made of paper. Its claws cut through their armor as easily as cutting through cloth. But this was not mindless violence. Through their mental connection, Hana could feel the tiger's thoughts. It was not just attacking randomly. It was thinking, planning, choosing its targets with careful intelligence. The weapon, the tiger's thoughts whispered in her mind. Though it did not speak in words she could understand. The meaning simply appeared in her head. Hana looked around and saw her energy blade lying on the arena floor where she had thrown it. She ran toward it as energy blasts from the guards' weapons scorched the ground around her feet. The blade felt different in her hand now. Lighter somehow. More balanced. Through her connection with the tiger, her senses were sharper than they had ever been before. She could hear heartbeats, smell fear, see the tiny movements that showed where each guard would attack next. A violent guard swung a metal club at her head. Hana ducked under the blow and sliced her blade across his arm. He screamed and dropped. His weapon. She had never moved so fast or fought so precisely in her life. The tiger was a blur of black fur and golden eyes as it leaped from one enemy to another. But it was not just killing. It was driving the guards toward specific areas of the arena, away from the exits and toward the center where the ground was weakest. The floor, Hana realized. The tiger wanted to break through the arena floor. She ran toward the spot where the cage had stood. The heavy metal structure had left deep marks in the stone beneath it. If they could crack the foundation here, they might be able to reach the tunnels below. More guards arrived, including ones with heavy weapons that could hurt even a creature as strong as the tiger. Energy nets flew through the air, trying to entangle the great cat's legs. Some of the nets found their target, but the tiger's claws cut through them like they were made of spider silk. Commander Park Do-hyun fired his plasma rifle at the tiger's back. The blast should have been fatal, but something impossible happened. The tiger twisted in midair, and somehow the energy beam missed its vital organs, leaving only a shallow burn across its shoulder. Through their mental link, Hana felt the tiger's pain as if it were her own. But she also felt its determination, growing stronger. They were not fighting just for their own freedom anymore. They were fighting for something bigger. "Bring down the ceiling supports," Commander Do-hyun shouted to his men. "If we cannot capture them, we will bury them." Energy blasts struck the massive pillars that held up the arena's roof. Cracks appeared in the stone, and dust began to fall from above. The spectators in the viewing boxes started to panic as they realized the entire structure might collapse. But the tiger had a different plan. It leaped onto one of the damaged pillars and began climbing toward the viewing boxes. Its claws found purchase in the cracks between the stones. and its powerful muscles carried it upward with impossible grace. It is going for the officials, Hana realized. She looked around the arena floor and saw what the tiger had been planning all along. The damage to the pillars was not random. The falling stones were creating a path of broken rubble that led from the floor to the viewing areas above. Hana began climbing. Her human muscles were not as strong as the tiger's, but her connection to the great cat was giving her abilities she had never possessed before. She could sense exactly where to place her hands and feet. She could feel the strength of each stone before she put her weight on it. Arena Master Kethaval appeared at the edge of his viewing box, staring down at the climbing human in disbelief. "This is impossible," he screamed. "Humans cannot do this." But Hana was no longer just human. The bond with the tiger was changing her, making her something new, something the Violins had never seen before and did not understand. She reached the viewing box just as the tiger arrived from the other side. Together they faced the Arena Master, who had been responsible for so much pain and death. Kethaval raised an energy pistol, but his hands were shaking with fear. "Stay back, abominations. You will not leave this arena alive." The tiger moved toward him slowly, its golden eyes burning with 7 years of accumulated rage. But Hana felt something else through their connection. The great cat was giving her a choice. She could let it kill Kethaval, or she could choose a different path. "We are not like you," Hana said to the Arena Master. "We do not kill for entertainment." She knocked the weapon from his hands and stepped aside. "But we will not be caged again." The tiger pressed past Kethaval without harming him, and leaped through the viewing box window into the corridors beyond. Hana followed, feeling the mental bond between them growing stronger with each moment. Behind them, the arena continued to crumble. The spectacle was over, but something new had begun. 2 different species had found a way to become something greater than either could be alone, and they were not finished fighting yet. Hana woke up in a cell that was smaller and darker than the one before. Her head throbbed and her body ached from dozens of small wounds. The Violins had caught them after all. But she was not alone in her mind. Even though she could not see the tiger, she could feel its presence. The mental connection they had formed was still strong, maybe even stronger than before. Through it, she could sense that the great cat was somewhere deep below her, probably in the lowest levels of the prison. "You are awake," said a cold voice. Hana looked up to see a Violin she had never met before. This one was different from the guards and officials. He wore a white coat and carried strange instruments. His eyes held the cruel curiosity of someone who enjoyed causing pain in the name of science. "I am Dr. Yoon Seok-jin," he said. "I study unusual creatures for the Empire. You and your tiger friend are very unusual indeed." "What do you want?" Hana asked. "To understand how you formed a mental bond with an alien predator? Such a thing should be impossible. Humans and Korathan tigers have completely different brain structures, yet somehow you connected with it in a way we have never seen before." Dr. Seok-jin activated a device that looked like a metal crown covered in wires. "This will help me study your brain while I experiment on your tiger friend. Every time I hurt it, your brain will react. Through these reactions, I can map the connection between you." Horror filled Hana's mind as she realized what he was planning. "You are going to torture it to study me. Science requires sacrifice," the doctor said with no emotion at all. "Your bond could be very useful to the Empire if we can learn to create it artificially. Imagine Violin soldiers linked to powerful predators. We would be unstoppable." The metal crown descended toward Hana's head. She tried to pull away, but chains held her arms and legs to the chair. The cold metal touched her skin, and immediately she felt sharp pain shooting through her skull. Far below, in the deepest part of the prison, the tiger roared in agony. Through their mental link, Hana felt every moment of its suffering as Dr. Seok-jin began his terrible experiments. The doctor was using energy probes to stimulate different parts of the tiger's brain, trying to understand how the bond worked. But the torture had an effect the doctor did not expect. Instead of weakening their connection, the shared pain was making it stronger. Hana began to hear the tiger's thoughts more clearly than ever before. She could see through its golden eyes, and feel with its powerful senses. Through the tiger's enhanced hearing, she could listen to conversations happening 3 floors away. Guards were talking about increased security. Scientists were discussing other captured creatures. Officials were planning how to use their discovery to make the Empire more powerful. Fascinating, Dr. Seokjin said as he watched the readings on his machines. Your brain activity is increasing instead of decreasing. The bond is actually growing stronger under stress. The experiments continued for hours. Each time the doctor hurt the tiger, Hana felt the pain as if it were happening to her own body. But she also felt something else. The tiger was learning about the prison layout through her human ability to understand maps and building plans. At the same time, she was gaining access to its predatory instincts and enhanced physical senses. During a break between experiments, Hana used her new abilities to listen to conversations throughout the facility. What she heard made her blood run cold. The tiger in the arena had not been the only one. The Valens had been capturing Korathan tigers for decades. There were dozens of them held in different parts of the facility, all being tortured in various ways. Their pain was being used to power certain Valen weapons and technologies, but there was more. Other species were being held here too. Psychic creatures from across the galaxy, all being used as living batteries for the Empire's war machine. The facility was not just a prison, it was a factory of suffering. Through her connection with the tiger, Hana felt its rage at this discovery. But there was something else mixed with the anger: determination. They were not going to escape alone. They were going to free every tortured creature in this place. The readings are off the charts, Dr. Seokjin said with excitement. Your bond is evolving into something completely new. You are becoming a hybrid consciousness, part human and part predator. He was right. Hana could feel changes happening in her mind and body. Her reflexes were faster, her senses were sharper. She could smell the fear of the guards outside her, smell and hear their heartbeats speeding up when they looked at her. But the most important change was in her connection with the tiger. They were no longer just 2 separate beings sharing thoughts. They were becoming something new, a partnership that was greater than the sum of its parts. I need to increase the intensity, Dr. Seokjin said. The Empire must understand this phenomenon completely. He activated new machines that sent waves of agony through both Hana and the tiger, but instead of breaking their bond, the pain pushed them over a threshold. Suddenly, Hana could feel the presence of other minds. The captured tigers were all connected to each other through a natural psychic network. By bonding with one, she had gained access to all of them. Through the network, she could sense dozens of powerful predators held throughout the facility. And through her human intelligence, she could share with them something they had never possessed before: a plan. This is impossible, Dr. Seokjin whispered, as his machines registered the expanding mental network. You are connecting with all of them. Hana smiled, despite the pain. You wanted to understand our bond. Now you will see what it can really do. Throughout the facility, tigers began to stir in their cages. For the first time in years, they had hope. More importantly, they had a human mind helping them plan their escape. The experiments had created exactly what Dr. Seokjin feared most: not just a bond between one human and one tiger, but a network that connected dozens of the galaxy's most dangerous predators with human strategic thinking. In the depths of the facility, the tiger that had chosen Hana sent a message through the network to all its imprisoned kin. The message was simple but filled with promise. Freedom was coming, and when it arrived, nothing would ever be the same. The rescue came like thunder in the night. Captain Kim Taehyung and his human fleet arrived at Nexus Prime, just as the facility's alarms began screaming. But the attack from outside was only half of the assault. The real battle was starting from within. Through the psychic network, Hana had been coordinating with every captured tiger in the facility. The bond that Dr. Seokjin had tried to study and control had become something far beyond his understanding. It was no longer just a connection between her and one tiger. It was a bridge between human intelligence and the collective power of dozens of apex predators. The moment the human ships attacked, Hana sent a single thought through the network. Now, every tiger cage in the facility opened at the same time, not because someone had unlocked them, but because the tigers themselves had learned to manipulate the electronic locks through their shared connection with Hana's technical knowledge. Dr. Seokjin stared at his monitoring screens in horror as alarms sounded throughout the building. This is impossible. The locks are controlled by our central computer. How are they opening? Hana smiled as she felt the metal crown on her head spark and die. The surge of psychic energy from the awakening tigers had overloaded the doctor's equipment. You never understood what you were studying. We are not just connected to each other. We are connected to everything in this place. The chains holding her to the chair snapped apart. Not because she had superhuman strength, but because she now knew exactly where they were weakest. Through the Tiger network, she had access to senses that could detect the stress points in any material. Guards, Dr. Seokjin screamed into his communication device. Stop the creatures. Kill them all if you have to. But the guards had their own problems. 23 Korathan tigers were loose in the facility, and each one was guided by Hana's human understanding of the building's layout. They moved through the corridors like shadows, avoiding the strongest defenses and striking where the Valens were most vulnerable. Hana ran through the facility toward the lower levels where her original tiger friend was being held. Along the way, she passed other freed creatures. Some were tigers she recognized through the psychic network. Others were different species entirely, predators and psychic beings from across the galaxy who had been held captive for years. All of them recognized her as the one who had started their liberation. But more than that, they sensed something in her that had never existed before. She was becoming a bridge between species, someone who could unite different kinds of beings in ways the galaxy had never seen. The tiger that had first chosen her was waiting when she reached the lower levels. It had grown even larger during its time in captivity, and its golden eyes now held an intelligence that seemed almost human. The bond between them had changed them both. Through their connection, she felt its thoughts more clearly than ever before. It was no longer thinking only of revenge or escape. It was thinking about the future, about what they could accomplish together if they survived this day. Supreme Regent Shin Yunji has ordered the facility destroyed, came an announcement over the building's communication system. All personnel evacuate immediately. The structure will be demolished in 10 minutes. Hana felt a chill of fear. If the Valens could not control what they had created, they would destroy it instead. Thousands of prisoners would die, along with the tigers and other creatures they had just freed. But through the psychic network, she sensed something that gave her hope. The tigers were not just running wild through the facility. They were working together with a coordination that no one had expected, and they were not alone. Other prisoners, humans and aliens alike, were following the tigers to safety. The great cats were using their enhanced senses to find the safest routes through the collapsing building, while Hana's knowledge helped them avoid the most dangerous areas. Captain Kim Tae-hyung's voice crackled through a communication device one of the freed prisoners had taken from a guard. This is the rescue fleet. We have ships positioned around the facility. Follow the emergency markers to the extraction points. The extraction was unlike anything in military history. Humans and aliens ran side by side with giant predators that should have been their natural enemies. The tigers used their strength to clear blocked passages while Hana coordinated the evacuation through her network connection. In the facility's command center, Supreme Regent Shin Yunji watched her carefully. Planned security systems fall apart. The creatures and prisoners were not just escaping randomly. They were working together with impossible coordination. How are they doing this? She demanded of her remaining staff. The human female has somehow become a central hub for all the psychic creatures, one scientist reported. She is coordinating them like a general commanding an army. Then kill her, Shin Yunji ordered. Cut off the head and the body will die. She activated a plasma cannon that had been built into the facility's walls, designed as a last resort against escaped creatures. The weapon charged with enough power to vaporize anything in its path. The cannon fired directly at Hana as she helped a group of elderly prisoners reach the extraction point. The plasma blast should have killed her instantly, But something extraordinary happened instead. The tiger that had first chosen her leaped between Hana and the deadly energy beam. The plasma struck the great cat directly in the chest, a wound that should have been fatal. But through their psychic bond, the damage somehow spread between both of them. Hana felt the searing pain as if the blast had hit her too. But because the injury was shared between two bodies, neither one took the full impact. They both survived what should have killed one of them. That is impossible, Shin Unji whispered. But she was seeing the birth of something new. The bond between Hana and the tiger had evolved beyond anything the galaxy had ever known. They had become two parts of a single consciousness, able to share not just thoughts but physical experiences. As the facility collapsed around them, Hana and the tiger led the final group of prisoners to safety. Behind them, the greatest prison in the Valen Empire crumbled into ruins. But more than a building had been destroyed that day. Standing together on the rescue ship as it lifted away from Nexus Prime, Hana realized what they had accomplished. She had not just freed a tiger from its chains. She had freed both of their species from the limitations they had never known they possessed. The Valen Empire still controlled most of the galaxy. But something had changed forever. Across the stars, other species were learning that cooperation could create strength that no single race could achieve alone. The age of isolated civilizations fighting alone was ending. The age of true unity, forged not through conquest, but through choice, had begun. And it all started because one human chose to set a tiger free and the tiger chose her in return.